All right, man, peace. So Kyrie Irving, the former superstar guard of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who was recently traded to the Boston Celtics, he made an appearance on the Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman show, First Take, to give his account on why he decided to demand a trade and to basically clear the air on a lot of rumor mongering that has been committed and performed against him to the detriment of his character by numerous sports media outlets. Let's see what he has to say.
Our next guest is an NBA champion, a four-time All-Star. He's embarking on a new chapter in his career this season after being traded from the Cleveland Cavaliers to the Boston Celtics in pursuit of being the leader of his own squad. We welcome Kyrie Irving to the First Take desk. So good to have you.
How you guys doing?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
So why was it time to make the move?
Well, it was interesting 6 years. And you think about how the journey transcended my career.
Now, when a guy describes his tenure anywhere as interesting, what he really means is that, there were some good moments and there were some bad moments, and there was a lot of incomprehensible decisions. There were a lot of things that occurred that should not have occurred in a truly professional environment. That's his way of encapsulating all of that bullshit in one word: interesting.
From starting the first 3 years, that was a picture in itself, and then the last 3 years. And you think about those finite moments that have defined you as a player and as a man. You're very appreciative of it. Getting the chance to play with some unbelievable teammates, and I had the chance to be with some unbelievable coaches as well. I got a chance to develop and evolve as a man, and I just felt it was best for my intentions to leave.
Let's break this down and let's get specific for a couple of things. I appreciate you being on the show. You know me. I'm going to ask now.
Yeah, Stephen A. is all hyped because he finally got a real basketball player on his show. He can stop sitting there acting like he invented basketball or some shit. He can actually have somebody there with real credibility and basketball credentials that can validate all the statements that he normally makes, trying to make himself out to be a basketball expert.
Now, what happened, man? Because it just seemed like, 1 minute you're in the championship, you're in the finals, you're hugging LeBron, you're happy to be in Cleveland, you're looking forward to coming back to compete for another championship, and then the next minute you want out. What happened?
It's very simple what happened, Stephen A. Like they say, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Look, I said over the course of the finals, after game one, when LeBron was there clapping everybody's hands after the game, I said, look, all that shit is going to fade away as the series goes along, because LeBron is not, come on, man. LeBron is like a two-dimensional character. He's like a caricature. He just overdoes everything. He has to have a handshake for everybody, and he has to front like he's this team guy. After a while, certain people are going to see through his bullshit. Kyrie's a little too intelligent to play along with him in every aspect that LeBron would want him to play along. Kyrie does not believe that he's Robin. It was very obvious why he wanted to leave, because he did not want to be a partaker in LeBron James's hijinks anymore. Right? He understands that Cleveland has no chance of beating the Golden State Warriors. So if you're going to be on a team that has no chance of winning the championship, does it really make a difference whether or not you're losing in the finals, or if you're on your own squad trying to create your own legacy and build up your own name? Does it really make that big a difference?
I was just very patient in my approach, understanding what the magnitude of the moment was. I wasn't going to allow anything else to get in the way of our team's success. So I was just very diligent, very professional in terms of this whole entire process. And the request came at a time where I felt it deemed right for me. As a 25-year-old evolving man, coming in to perfect my craft every single day, I just wanted to be in an environment where I felt like I could be taught every single day and be...
Now, that's a shot at the coaching staff, right? He says he wants to be in an environment where he feels like he can get taught every single day. So obviously he does not feel like Tyronn Lue has anything new to teach him. He does not feel like the Cleveland Cavaliers coaching staff has anything to teach him. He feels like he's smarter than the coaches. That's really what he's saying. All right. Of course, Brad Stevens is renowned for the ingenuity of his plays, right, of his offensive scheme. So Kyrie believes that hopefully that will take him to the next level in his understanding as a basketball player. See, Kyrie understands something that a lot of people don't understand, and this is why a lot of times I try to say this on this channel. You can't put your spirit into anything in this society, and Kyrie understands that you have to have the mindset of a pilgrim in this society. Meaning what? You got to be ready to up and leave at a moment's notice when things are showing that they're nearing their point of no return in regards to their decay. That's one of the laws of thermodynamics, that things decay. All right. Things don't improve over time. They decay over time. All right. So Kyrie understands that his time period in Cleveland is decaying. It's come to an end. It's time to start afresh, start anew somewhere else that he can learn something new. All that shit about loyalty to your franchise, those were things that were taught to athletes many years ago to convince them that it was good to be an indentured servant. Kyrie understands now with mobility, his quest for knowledge and understanding, he has to be willing to move on. He cannot have his legacy tied to LeBron James's legacy. That's not how he sees himself. He does not see himself as Scottie Pippen. He sees himself as Isaiah Thomas or somebody of that caliber. That is how Kyrie sees himself.
Have that demand from my coaching staff, have the demand from a franchise that would propel me to exceeding my potential or seeing how far I can go.
That makes all the sense in the world in terms of the timing of you saying to the Cleveland Cavaliers you want out. But by your answer, you just gave indications that this has been something that was stirring and percolating for a little while. Like you knew that you was approaching this moment. You just didn't want to be a distraction to the team.
Molly got her freakum dress on. What's going on with her? Let me find out she's trying to distract Kyrie.
Absolutely. Like I said, I was just very patient within those moments because I knew that the importance wasn't in my ego or anything that existed from the reasons on why I would come into work every single day and not give 100% and not give my teammates everything that I had. From that standpoint, that was the way I was raised. I was raised in being in a professional environment, being in a workplace, and making sure it's conducive for everybody. So
now you see what he said? He basically said that due to him being raised by a father, he learned the art of being magnanimous. He learned the art of presiding over a group of people and considering their wants, their needs, their position, and their roles. This is something that a lot of cats don't learn being raised in single mother environments. And, some people might get offended by that, who are raised in single mother environments. There's a dynamic that a good father brings to the table that cannot be replaced. All right. Just because you were raised with a father does not mean that you are going to be imbued with those qualities. But there are qualities that are irreplaceable that you learn in a background with a good father, with a strong father, that you learn. You learn about discipline. You learn about accountability. You learn about hardship. You learn about having a vision. You learn about transcending. These are things that you learn. When you don't have that, you end up like Kevin Durant, but I'll cover him later. Okay? That's how you end up. But let Kyrie continue.
So having those relationships and developing those every single day, and then on top of that, still wanting to be as successful on the court and still trying to figure out myself off the court. I had to balance those two. And I felt like when I was coming into that environment, there were times where my energy was just a little off. And I just had to figure that out. And there were times when after games I would go out and shoot. As any professional athlete or any person knows, when you're in your workplace and you have those tough days, there are questions that you ask yourself. Is this the right thing for me right now? And I answered that question myself.
Before I get to Max,
Sorry.
And go back to Molly, excuse me.
And why is Molly chiming in for? Like, your job is to sit there and look cute and be the decoration. Everybody knows this is Stephen A's gig right now. Well, Kyrie would love to answer your questions. Believe me, you are exactly his type. But, right now you got to let Stephen A has to, he has to be the MC for this one.
Excuse me, Molly, I'm sorry. Let me get the big question, the elephant in the room. LeBron James is a superstar, widely considered the best player in the world. Kyrie Irving is a star. Everybody knows you're a bad boy. But the reality is that you got tired of playing second fiddle. You wanted your own team. This is the perception. Yeah. You wanted your own team, and Damn it, you was tired of being second fiddle in Cleveland and you no longer wanted to be LeBron James' teammate. Respond to those accusations.
Well, let me respond first. Let me say this. There's no way in the hell that Kyrie's going to sit there and say, you're damn right. I don't want to play second banana to anybody. I'm the head honcho. I should be the lead guy. It's time for me to take over a team. He's not going to say that until about 5 years after he's retired. Or maybe until he's fully vested in the Boston Celtics, he may come out and say something like that. But he's not going to say that now. You have to understand what the media game is. The media game is to stir the pot. All right? There's a certain gossip aspect that is now grafted into sports media. And if you want to avoid certain bullshit, especially coming into a season, there are certain questions that you already know you're going to have to navigate through. So obviously he cannot sit there and make those type of statements about LeBron James, even though that's clearly the case.
Oh man, well, yeah.
The all man gave it all away. That's all you needed to know.
The actual storyline of everything that was created from a variety of sources, a variety of people, whether it be from my circle, whether it be from anywhere else, the last person that everybody kind of forgot about was me. I didn't say, as you said, I didn't say a damn word. And
that is true.
And it was all because that was never reality for me, because I know the type of person I am, and I know who I'm developing into and who I want to become.
Let me say this quickly. Kyrie touched on something that, let me say this, a lot of times in life, and you'll find this especially when you're a young black man, so-called black man, young black man, when you don't play the character that people expect you to be as a black man, they will try to attribute certain thoughts to you, to try to manipulate you into a verbal or even a physical confrontation, because they're frustrated that you don't fit into the stereotypical black man that they're used to, that they're accustomed to. In various environments, people will expect the black man to take a subservient position, to entertain them, to even emasculate himself. When they see that you take on the air of the quote-unquote strong silent type, they will go out of their way to attribute certain statements to you that you didn't make, to attribute certain sentiments or thought patterns to you that you never told them about, all to demonize you in an attempt to draw you out of that cloak, that protection that you create for yourself, and to try to create a confrontation, maybe make you lose your composure, things of that nature. All right. And that's what happened to Kyrie during those trade talks.
It never came from the fact of me wanting to be absolutely selfish and absolutely putting myself first and wanting to be the man. I don't really have an ego. I have
Stop lying.
A presence and aura about me that's very reality based. It didn't come in a form of living in this false world and not being able to tell the truth to somebody and look them in the eye and like that. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to be on my own. I'm ready to try out a new situation and be in an environment where I felt like I can be happy. And
right. Well, in other words, when you say you're ready to be on your own, you're ready to be outside of LeBron's umbrella, right? You're ready to exist, on your own accord. Look at Kellerman. Kellerman has a face. He has a face like a hyena, waiting for the lions to leave the carcass so that he can get his little scraps.
And my intent was still the same, and always will be the same, is that to be around people and to interact with them. I love doing that. And to do that through basketball, that's even better. But to be happy every single day I come to work and perfecting my craft, oh man, I can't wait to get the next season started.
So in other words, he was not happy every day at Cleveland, right? If he was not happy there, what is the reason why he was not happy? There was a certain dynamic that was created there, an environment, an atmosphere that he did not find to be conducive to his happiness. Of course, he is not going to get explicit. These type of things are not going to come out until later. Look, it's the media's job to ask him these type of questions. We get it. But please understand, Kyrie is too shrewd to answer them in the way that they want him to answer. So he did the right thing by avoiding. Okay? If he would have came out and spoke his full mind, these things would have sat over the head of his team all the way until the start of the season. And they would have made it into this huge thing that it did not need to be.
Go ahead, Max.
Kyrie, glad to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. So I just want to get it straight. You no longer wanted to play with LeBron James?
How could you get that straight when he has not said that yet? You see, this guy's trying to ask his little slick question.
Excuse me?
Did you no longer...
Look, Kyrie picked up on it. Kyrie said, excuse me?
Thanks for being here. So I just want to get it straight. You no longer wanted to play with LeBron James?
Excuse me?
Did you no longer want to play with LeBron James?
I mean, it's not really about wanting or not wanting to. It really just became how everyone turned this into a madness because it was myself and LeBron. If this were anybody else getting traded, I don't think it would have been as big a storyline. Being with that guy was unbelievable. It was something that I will relish in for the rest of my life because the situations that we came across as individuals and as a team, collectively, we all grew.
Let me say this. Notice Kyrie has a hard time even saying LeBron's name. He'll say that guy. All right? If there was sincere affinity there for LeBron, he would have said LeBron. Now, he may say his name sometime later on in the interview, but I notice he does tend to refer to LeBron as that guy. Okay? Please pay attention to things like that. When somebody has cut off someone else in their mind, they don't even like to say their name because names have power, right? When you say somebody's name, it conjures up, the remembrance of events that occurred that have created an indelible memory in your life, and you almost feel like you owe that person when you mention their name. That's why Kyrie has not mentioned in the A. Look at some of these horror movies. How do you conjure demons? You got to yell their name. Beetlejuice, Candyman, things of that nature. All right? Might be funny, but it's the truth. When you say somebody's name, you give them power. Notice that Kyrie refers to him as that guy. All right? Kyrie knows that he owes a lot to LeBron in regards to his maturation as a player, but I think that Kyrie found it in the locker room. I think he found that he found himself to be more mature than LeBron, even though he was almost 10 years younger, right? That's what I believe that Kyrie realized. And I think that it may have made him lose a little bit of respect for LeBron on a personal level.
And when you get to that crossroad in your career and in your life and you have to make that decision, it's not about necessarily figuring out what the other person's intent is. It's figuring out what your intent is. And when I came to that crossroad and I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, okay, this is absolutely something that I want to do. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to play with the best player on the planet. It didn't have anything to do with not wanting to be the second fiddle, not wanting to be sunned. And as you like to say, Max, being a second-class citizen, I have no idea what that is, or a second banana. I don't have any idea what that is.
Now you see, Kyrie has an axe to grind with Max Kellerman. He has an axe to grind with Max Kellerman. So let's see how this transpires.
But I know that I'm very solidified in who I am as a person, and I always will be that way.
Let me ask you this question.
Well, hold on, Stephen A. Let me just follow up with that if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Now Max is getting roused up. Yup, you see how Kyrie's face has changed. Oh boy, here we go. He probably sent a little prayer to whoever he prayed to. Once again, when so-called black people, and Kyrie, I will consider him a so-called black liberal. He has described himself as being woke, quote unquote. When the so-called white liberal, when the white Caucasian liberal, when he sees any type of disrespect or disregard coming from the black liberal or black woke member of that demographic or whatever you want to call it, they oftentimes will try to tighten the reins or tighten the leash. They will come out and they will try to intellectually denigrate or emasculate that member of the black liberals who is showing a little rebelliousness. And you're going to see Max Kellerman try to exert a little control over Kyrie by asking what he believes are incisive questions or trying to probe Kyrie mentally to see if there are any weaknesses that he can exploit.
Then I'm a little confused by the answer, Kyrie, because when you say you don't have ego, I see the way you play at the end of games. You want the ball. You're a killer in crunch time, and you're extremely talented. It seems to me that that kind of player, the closer, as they say, does have ego. So if you say that you want to leave LeBron because that's the crossroads in your career, you're ready to kind of have your own team, are you also saying, it seems to me you would be saying, but correct me if I'm wrong, that you think you have a better chance of winning a championship on another team? Because as a winning player, I would assume that that would be the ultimate goal, not necessarily seeing how far you can go on your own, or as the leader of a team, but giving yourself the best chance to win a championship. Do you think by leaving Cleveland that's what you did, or am I wrong in my premise?
Well, let me answer before Kyrie answers. And this is something that you're seeing a lot from the liberal sports media. They have LeBron up there as one of the heads of their trinity, their proverbial sports trinity. He's right up there with Serena Williams and probably Tom Brady, right? I mean, those are like the three icons in the American liberal media sports world that that they get in a little tizzy whenever you say anything quote unquote bad about them. And Kyrie is basically being raked over the coals for leaving LeBron based off of the presumption that he's lowered his chances of winning a championship by leaving LeBron. The media is really upset with Kyrie because it's actually the opposite. LeBron's chances of winning a championship have lowered since Kyrie left him. It's not the opposite, because Kyrie's career is not going to be judged on the amount of championships that he wins. Kyrie could retire, in 4 or 5 years from the Celtics, and he'll most likely be considered a Hall of Famer and a guy who has won a championship. All right. It is LeBron who's going to be judged based on the amount of rings that he has, because he's the one who's cast himself as the chosen one. He's the one who has constantly tried to cast himself in the last couple of years as being a competitor to Michael Jordan's legacy. So, I mean, let's be very clear, as Stephen A would say, let's be very clear. Kyrie understands, as I've stated numerous times, he's evaluated the dynamic between the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. He knows that Golden State has the better team. Unless Golden State suffers an injury, Cleveland is not beating them, whether Kyrie's there or not. So the media is trying to act like he's Scottie Pippen leaving Michael Jordan, like they're the championship favorites. They're not. And everybody knows that. So this nonsense about him lessening his chances of winning a championship by leaving LeBron, this is a complete red herring that has been created by the media to justify their, the anger and the vitriol that they're aiming at this young man.
Well, when you think about the journey, and then you also put things into perspective for what they really are, it's a truthful environment, and I wasn't getting that. And that's where it really stands. Says he wasn't getting the truth in that environment. Who was he not getting the truth from? I stated before, he knows that LeBron James was knowledgeable, had knowledge of a trade or numerous trade requests to get rid of Kyrie. I said months ago that when LeBron James said that we need help with the decision making or with handling the ball, he wasn't talking about no damn backup point guard. He wanted them to trade Kyrie for Chris Paul. I said that shit months ago, and I don't need no inside information. All I have to do is pay attention. And then that guy Rob Parker came out about a month ago and confirmed what I had picked up just by paying attention. He confirmed it by speaking to his sources that yes, LeBron was trying to trade Kyrie for Chris Paul. All right. And then it came out that they were trying to engage in a three-way trade with the Pacers and the Suns to get back Eric Bledsoe and Paul George and trade Kyrie to Phoenix. Okay. So Kyrie knew and understood that in order for that trade to be greenlit, LeBron had to have the okay. He had to give his okay. All right.
Well, when you say it wasn't a truthful environment, is that pointing to the coaching, Tyronn Lue? Is that pointing to GM? Is that pointing to ownership? Just to be clear.
No.
Okay, that's not at all.
No, it's pointing to the perspective. It's pointing to the perspective that I know exactly what I want. Mm-hmm. I want to be happy and perfect my craft in doing so.
Hey, don't I always come on here and I tell cats, look, man, you have to want to be happy. I don't like people on my channel who are not happy. When dudes come in the comments, oh, man, your channel's going down. Well, bruh, it's very simple. Life is simple, brother. You're not happy, unsubscribe and move on to a channel that you like better. Don't come on my channel bitching like a hoe. You got to go where you're happy. See what Kyrie did? Kyrie said, I'm not going to be happy in Cleveland, so I'm going to go to Boston. All right, or I'm going to go to another team where I'm going to be happy, where I'm going to know that they're going to try to maximize what I do, what I can do. All right? I respect him for that. He understands the whole point of life is to be in an environment, number one, where you're happy, and number two, where the people around you want you to be happy. And that's the case anywhere in life, with your job, your career, your woman, whatever. Anybody that you associate with has to be concerned with your happiness. If they're not concerned with your happiness, you got to find somewhere else to go.
Let me go someplace else. Did you speak to LeBron James or talk to LeBron James before you and your representatives met with ownership to let them know that you wanted out?
Huh.
Why not?
Why would I have to?
Oh, what that translates as is, who's that nigga? You know? See, Kyrie, in his mind, he really believes that, you know, he's just as responsible for Cleveland's winning the championship as LeBron James. Look at Max Kellerman. Max got his eyes closed. I can't believe that he said that about the black Jesus Christ of the NBA. Oh, God. Man's probably going to, on commercial break, he's going to kiss the rosary like 10 times.
I'm not saying, no. I'm not implying that you have to at all. Yeah. But he's the best player in the world. He's a superstar. He's considered the leader of the team. Your teammate, who you speak glowingly and very highly about. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want to play there anymore, even though it was a personal decision, chances are, if you don't speak to somebody about it, they might take it personally.
Yeah.
Do you care about that at all?
No.
Kyrie basically said, look, man, I'm just doing me. All right? Look, at the end of the day, LeBron is going to do him. I told you guys that Kyrie already understood that LeBron was out after this season. He knows that LeBron is not going to call him up and say, hey, Kyrie, I'm leaving. LeBron's just going to leave, and everybody was just supposed to eat that. Kyrie said, no, I'm going to cook you up a meal for you to eat before you leave. All right? And no matter how much he denies it, Kobe was in on this in regards to his advice to Kyrie. As an advisor. And if Kobe is the one who advised him to leave before LeBron, Kobe gave him the right advice.
It's his future, his life.
Kyrie,
I think that we're forgetting one
let me
important thing. I think we're getting one important thing.
Sure.
Stephen A., as you sit up here, and Molly and Max, as you guys are professionals, I don't think that you owe anything to another person in terms of figuring out what you want to do with your life. And it's not anything personal. I'm not here to tirade anybody.
Let me say this real quick. I was watching another show, and they took Kyrie's comments where he said that he doesn't owe anybody anything, and they took it like Kyrie just totally thinks that he's the only one responsible for his success. What he said was that he doesn't owe anyone in regards to the decisions that he's making in his life. In other words, he doesn't have to hold anybody else. He doesn't have to consider the feelings of anyone else, the ramifications of the rapport or the relationship that he's going to have with that person in making a very important and critical decision for himself. He has to make the decision for himself, and he has to be the priority. All right? That's what he said, and that's what he meant when he made that statement. It wasn't like, oh, I don't owe anybody for my success as a basketball player. That's silly.
I'm not here to go at any particular person or the organization because I have nothing but love for Cleveland. Like, I have nothing but love for the times that I spent there. There's nothing about that. It comes a time where you mature as an individual. It's time to make that decision, and there is no looking back from that standpoint. There is no time to figure out how to save someone's feelings when ultimately you have to be selfish in that and figuring out what you want to do. And it wasn't about me not wanting to win. It wasn't anything about that. It was like, I want to be extremely, extremely happy, like, in perfecting my craft. And that was the only intent that I have in all of this. And I think that it got much more attention because everything else started coming out from who would think that their important opinion mattered most.
Exactly. A lot of times when you ask people for advice or when you seek out the advice of others, they're going to give you the advice that they feel like is going to benefit them in regards to the decision that you make. All right? If you're working at a certain job and you decide that you want to leave that job and you ask someone there, do you think that you should leave that job? They're going to tell you what they feel like is going to benefit them. If they like you as a person, they're going to tell you maybe you should stay. If they don't like you, they're going to tell you maybe you should leave. If they want your position, they're going to tell you maybe you should leave. Right? These are all things that you must consider whenever you confide in anyone on anything, is what may that person have to gain or lose based on this decision that I'm making, and should I confide in them? All right? A lot of times people don't want to see you ascend higher than you already are. They want to see you stay at that same level so that they can feel better about their own life and their own station. People are very, very insecure, man. Do not underestimate the insecurities of the everyday person.
And I saw previous players, I saw past players, I saw current players speaking on something that had absolutely nothing to do with them.
Yes.
I'm appreciative of their comments, but at the same time, it's ultimately my decision.
Right. Well, you're here to clear it up, and I know we got to go to break. We're going to go to break. We'll come back, but I got a lot more to ask because you said a lot. Okay, so I'm going to provide you some of the other perspective that I want you to speak on. That way, we don't have to interpret everything. We talking to the man. We'll get it from you.
Okay.
Let's go.
When we come back, we're going to switch gears and get into a little boxing. The fight lived up to the hype, but did the decision ruin it? The guys will tell you that after the break.
Yeah, I'm going to continue this on part 2.